10:35 now, having a fascinating discussion about what this Bethesda Center means to the City of London, and it is so much linked to so many issues that we all wrestle with. What is life? What's important in life? Who's important in life? I love the line a friend of mine came home with recently. He said, "You know, Andy, I work with a lot of guys, and their only ambition in life seems to be that one day they'll be the richest man in the cemetery." Whoa! And I ran that through it, and I thought, you know, I know people like that. Their only ambition is to one day be the richest man in the cemetery. Well, once in a while, something comes along, and you say, wait a minute, this is where I need to take a stand. This is where I need to show my light. And I believe for a lot of us folks, this Bethesda Center is the one time today that we need to shine our light. If we all pull together as a City of London, we can save this Bethesda Center. And when I hear these stories time and time again from these young women, and to me, Sarah Brooks is just a poster child for these young women who went through a tough patch in their life, got pregnant in grade 11 at Laurier High School. I want to ask you, Sarah, you had a son at that time. Mm-hmm. He's now, what, 18?
He will be in June, yep.
I'm sure that you and he have had a chat about being a teenager and hormones. And I would think, and I don't know what discussion you've had, that you would not want him to walk through the valley that you did.
No, we've actually talked about it. I've been very open with Cole since he was young about sex and what it was and what it meant and how important it is. And as he's gotten older, we've had many talks about it. And the one thing I tell him all the time, you know, I didn't intend to be a teenage mother, but it happened. And it could just as easily happen to him. And if it happened, then we would deal with it, and I will love him no matter what, and I will be there for him and support him. But it's such a hard road to take, and I want him to be smart, and I want him to be protected, and I want him to be educated so that he has the chance to do the things that I never got to do. I want him to travel with his friends. I want him to have a dorm in college and, you know, not have to worry about rolling pennies to buy milk at the end of the day because you got nothing left. And
did you do that?
Yes.
You rolled pennies?
More than once.
Where were you? And describe that moment that burns in your memory of you rolling pennies to buy milk.
I had a 2-bedroom apartment. I was actually in college. I was going to Fanshawe, and it was just, I had another week before my check came, and we needed milk in the house. And the only place that I didn't like to ask people for help. I had plenty of people in my life. Don't get me wrong. Lots of people in my life helped me out. My parents were there for me. I had neighbors that helped me unexpectedly at different times. But I didn't like to ask for it because I didn't want anybody to think that I couldn't do it. Because when I was pregnant, I said, I can do this myself. I know what I'm doing. I'm making this choice and I can do this myself. So it was important to me to do those things. And I remember sitting on the carpet in the living room and dumping out the penny jar and rolling it up so I could get milk for the week. And
did your friends in your class at Fanshawe College know?
Oh, everybody knew that I had a child.
No, but that you were rolling pennies.
No, I didn't want anybody to know. It's embarrassing, right? Because you want to do it yourself. You want to prove that you can do it yourself. And
is poverty more embarrassing than pregnancy?
Yes, absolutely.
Let me wrap my own mind around that. Poverty, rolling pennies to buy milk, is more embarrassing than being pregnant when you're, how old were you? 18? 16.
Yep. Yeah, for me it was. My older sister had a child at 18, and after she got pregnant, I heard from everybody all the time, you know, kids at school and relatives would make comments about, you know, you're going to get pregnant at 16 too. You're going to be just like your sister, and you're going to, and not that my sister's a bad person, but it was just the stigma that came along with being a teenage mother. And when I got pregnant, right when they said I would, that was humiliating to me, and I couldn't admit to anybody that I was having a hard time.
What's your message to young girls today who take sex pretty casually sometimes about what you've been through and how much you want for them not to go through that?
That I know having sex with your boyfriend thinks it's not a big deal, right? You love him and it's just sex and you've done it before and it's not a big deal and it doesn't hurt anybody and it's nobody's business what you're doing. I understand that thinking. I remember that thinking. And the consequences of it are not just the being a parent part. It's the the looks that you get from people when, you know, your girlfriends are doing the same thing that you're doing, but when you're the one walking around with a big belly, you're the one that's getting looked at by everybody. And it's embarrassing and it's humiliating and it's very hard to take. And it's not, there's time. There's time. Not that I would never change my situation because I'm grateful for the life that I've had. And my son is a fantastic person. I wouldn't trade him for anything. But it would have been nice to have a girls' trip and go to Cuba with my girlfriends in college and not have to worry about buying milk with pennies. Like,
do you feel that because you were pregnant at 16, you've been robbed of the freedom of being a young woman discovering the world? And you were always, after that day, you were always a mom first.
Yeah, I don't, it's hard because people will say, when I was 18, I did this. And when I was 20, I did this. And when I was 18, I had a 2-year-old. When I was 20, I had a 4-year-old. Like, I've always been mom. Even if I went out and partied. I had fun. Cole went to his dad's house on the weekends and I had time to myself. I was lucky that way. But I was still mom, and I still had to keep it in the back of my mind that I can't drink too much, because if I do and there's something that happens with Cole, I have to go to the hospital, and I don't want to be the teenage mom who shows up at the hospital intoxicated. So it was always in the back of my mind. Everything I've ever done since he was born has been, but what about Cole? And it would have been nice to just be Sarah.
That's a great line. I'm still wrapping my mind around more embarrassing to be rolling pennies for milk than to be pregnant at 16. We have to take a short break. 643-1290. Want to welcome you. We've had quite a chat here, but want to welcome you to be part of this conversation as London decides whether it has the mustard to save the Salvation Army's Bethesda Center. Major Pat Finney, if you're listening this morning, really would like to talk to you about this. It appeared when you announced the closure of the Bethesda Center, it was absolute, it was final, and you guys who want to save it, just go away. But on Friday, they made the announcement that, no, we are allowing this option for London to raise $1.5 million to save this center for at least 3 years, 3 to 5 years, and I think we can do it. And I've put my money where my mouth is, pledging $100 off the bat, and I'm inviting you to do the same. 643-1290, back with your story, your thoughts, your comments on whether we should save the Bethesda Center right here on London Today on News Talk 1290 CJBK.